Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 6 articles for you in this episode. I think you'll enjoy this one. This first article is off of DennisMichaelLynch.com. It says, Russia, we will not expel any Americans. All these URLs are in the description of the video, so you can pull them up and take a look at them for whatever research you might want to do. I'll read them to you. The first article here reads, Russian President Vladimir Putin is not an individual one can easily fool. Despite suggestions from the Foreign Ministry to expel 35 American diplomats in response to President Obama's similar sanctions, Putin is not taking the bait. On Friday, Putin announced he will not be expelling any Americans from his country, mentioning that Obama's act was designed to provoke a reaction. In his formal statement, Putin mentions the Obama administration swung low by targeting foreign diplomats and their families days before New Year's celebrations. An excerpt of his statement from the Kremlin website can read below. It says, we reserve the right to retaliate, but we will not sink to the level of this irresponsible kitchen diplomacy. We will take further moves on restoring Russian-American relations based on the policies that the administration of the President-elect Donald Trump adopts. We will not forbid families and their children from spending the New Year's holiday at places they are used to. Moreover, I invite the children of all American diplomats with accreditation in Russia to New Year's and Christmas festivities in the Kremlin. Putin then further mentions Obama is ending his last few days in the White House on a low note, followed by an ending line congratulating Trump. I congratulate President-elect Donald Trump and the entire American people, he says. The next article I have for you is off of BizPac Review, and it says, friendly Putin throws Obama major curveball in retaliation. U.S. diplomats more than welcome to stay. It says, this is embarrassing. Russian President Vladimir Putin similarly brushed aside sanctions against his nation by President Obama on Thursday, along with the ousting of 35 Russian operatives from the United States. Not only did Putin invite U.S. diplomats to stay, but he's suggested their children join in coming holiday celebrations at the Kremlin. As it proceeds from international practice, Russia has reasons to respond in kind, Putin said in a statement, the Washington Examiner reported. Although we have the right to retaliate, we will not resort to irresponsible kitchen diplomacy, but will plan our future steps to restore Russian-U.S. relations based on the policies of the Trump administration. Payback, or well, let's try that again. Putin declared that further steps toward the restoration of Russian-American relations will be built on the basis of the policies carried out by the administration of President Trump. Ouch. In layman's terms, the Russian president called President Obama irrelevant. He also slammed the president's actions as being counter to creating good relationship with Russia and the world. This runs contrary to fundamental interests of both the Russian and American people, the Russian president said, considering the global security responsibilities of Russia and the United States. This is also damaging to international relations as a whole. And Putin said U.S. diplomats were going to have no problem in Russia as a result of Obama's actions, and even invited them to partake in the New Year's celebrations at the Kremlin. It is regrettable that the Obama administration is ending its term in this manner. Nevertheless, I offer my New Year's greetings to President Obama and his family, Putin said in a statement. My season's greeting also to President-elect Donald Trump and the American people. On Thursday, President Obama ordered 35 Russian operatives to leave the United States and imposed largely ceremonial sanctions on Russian intelligence services for Russian alleged role in the hack of DNC and the propagation of supposed fake news during the presidential election. The announcement by Russia came after a tweet by its embassy that mocked President Obama as a lame duck. And they also have included the full statement posted by the Kremlin in this one, if you want to pull it up and take a look at that. The next article I have for you is off of naturalnews.com, and it says, Obama trying to start World War III before January 20. Feds probe Drudge report with DDoS attack. Natural News and InfoWars targeted for cyber attack takedowns. Excuse the brevity of this entry, but there's not enough time to detail all the evil that's unfolding right now. Suffice it to say that Obama is right now attempting to start a raging war before he leaves office. There are two types of attempts he's making. Number one, war with Russia. Number two, war against the American people. He's also hoping to be part of a successful Marxist coup on January the 20th, but that's very unlikely to go anywhere. Obama is trying to start World War III before January the 20th. Check drudgereport.com and breitbart.com to stay up to speed on this. Paul Craig Roberts also has extremely important insight on what's shaping up. He was part of the Reagan administration. And my own contacts inside the bureaucracy are signaling that Obama is setting landmines across the bureaucracy to function as sabotage tripwires that will blow up in President Trump's face. Barack Obama, who is quite literally a sleeper cell agent who has been trying to destroy America from day one, is now attempting to provoke Russia into military conflict. He has now begun expelling Russian diplomats from the USA as a cover story for the Democrats' completely fabricated Russian hacking conspiracy theory regarding the hacking of email accounts belonging to John Podesta and the DNC. It was actually an inside job achieved by a Bernie Sanders supporter. Fortunately, it looks like Russia is mocking Obama for his incredible stupidity and not taking him seriously anymore. If cooler heads prevail in all this, Obama will be out of office in roughly 20 days, and a new President Trump will restore sane, stabilizing relations with Russia. But until January 20th comes, make no mistake, the traitor Obama is trying to provoke Russia into escalating conflict with the USA. This is deliberate, insane, and deeply criminal. I'm already hearing whispers of desires to see Barack Obama arrested and charged with criminal acts of treason against the United States. Yet it is doubtful that any such charges could really be levied against a former president whose actions took place while he was in office, so don't get your hopes up. Nevertheless, it is increasingly apparent to an expanding number of people that Obama is an active traitor who has deliberately given aid to America's enemies while destroying trust among America's allies. Just two words prove the assertion. Number one is Iran, and then second one is Israel. DrudgeReport.com suffered 80-minute blackout due to a DDoS attack. Also today, the DrudgeReport.com website, which has remained a highly effective thorn in the side of Obama regime, was taken offline for 90 minutes by a coordinated DDoS attack believed to have come from U.S. government itself. A tweet from conservative media icon Matt Drudge's verified Twitter account Thursday might appear to accuse the government of interfering with his website. DrudgeReport.com, just hours after the Barack Obama administration announced new sanctions against Russia over election hacking, reports ibtimes.com. This is, or try that again, is the U.S. government attacking Drudge Report? Biggest DDoS since the site's inception. Very suspicious routing and timing. The tweet to Drudge's 457,000 followers read. Natural News warned it will be targeted for takedown before Trump is sworn in. A few weeks ago, Infowars.com personnel received a threat that claimed their site would be taken down in a government censorship purge. Now that same threat has been made to Natural News by channels I'm not yet ready to make public. The threat asserts that many of the websites falsely labeled Russian propaganda by the fraudulent Washington Post story have been targeted for government takedown action before President Obama leaves office. All while Obama signs hundreds of pardons to protect the criminals associated with the DNC and the Clinton crime family. Right now, sites such as DrudgeReport.com and RT are being probed in what are called DDoS stress tests to determine the level of DDoS traffic needed to bring down each site. The result is calculated into the full assault plan, which will distribute government cyber attack resources across the targeted sites in the most efficient manner, dedicating only the amount of DDoS traffic needed to bring down each site. This tactic, by the way, is something I've heard called DDoS, or distributed denial of service attack. It's concluded at a scale, it is conducted at a scale that can only be achieved by nation states such as China, North Korea, or the USA. In this case, it's the USA under Barack Obama that would be engaging in cyber war against the independent media. In effect, we may be looking at a situation where Barack Obama uses full resources of the corrupt sectors of his regime to wage cyber warfare against independent journalism in order to halt the only remaining free press from warning Americans about what Obama is actually doing. Natural News readers should prepare for our website to be subjected to heavy attacks, coordinated DDoS waves, and possibly even attempted DNS hijacking or Obama government confiscation of our hosting servers. In case of DNS is taken over, you can access naturalnews.com directly from any browser by typing in the IP address, and that is 162.244.66.146. You should write this down physically on a piece of paper and tape it to your monitor. If you ever notice that naturalnews.com is not responding, try the IP address instead. If Drudge, InfoWars, and Natural News all go down, it means war has begun. Furthermore, naturalnews.com is deliberately taken down. You should interpret this as a sign that Obama is initiating a government war against the American people, and you would be wise to lock and load in preparation for the kind of Second Amendment activation that was designed to save the Republic from tyranny. To be clear, yes, I am explicitly stating that the coordinated attack against independent media by the criminal Obama traitor should be interpreted as an act of war against America, the final stage of Obama's long train of subversion to transform America into a Marxist police state under totalitarian control. Personally, I think he will fail in this effort, but like most radical leftists, he is insane enough to try it. Flashback, Obama's Department of Homeland Security purchased 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition, including sniper rounds. We are now entering the most dangerous time for America since World War II. I fully realize that to the uninformed, these warnings may sound unbelievable, but to those working inside the system right now as part of the counter-coup operation to save America from Obama's last desperate effort to destroy this nation, what I'm writing here is very well understood and widely known to be true. Those of you reading this from inside the FBI, CIA, DHS, and NSA know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're on the side of America, I send you prayers and your strength and courage in protecting America for the next 20 days or so, after which things will significantly calm down. If all goes well and the patriots inside the bureaucracy succeed in their mission, you will never know anything happened at all. There will be no takedown of independent media websites, no war with Russia, and no successful coup on January the 20th. That's our desired outcome. We seek a peaceful transition of power to the Trump administration, where highly experienced and patriotic cabinet members will begin the arduous process of unwinding the Obama poison pills, time bombs, and tripwires he's planted across the bureaucracy. But make no mistake, Obama is an active, conscious traitor to America, and he's not going to go away without sabotaging everything in sight on his way out. His targets absolutely include free speech, websites that refuse to surrender to his anti-American rhetoric, and subversive actions. All legitimate free press publications in America and their editors are now at extreme risk for the next 20 days. Check naturalnews.com throughout each day. We are now publishing news stories several times throughout the day, and we'll keep publishing as long as we're able. If we stop publishing or go offline for an extended period of time, you should quite rationally assume the worst. The next article that I have for you is off of the Conservative Daily Post, and it says, Obama makes deal with Saudi Arabia to allow their ISIS soldiers to retreat to safety. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi became leader in 2010 of what was then known as Islamic State in Iraq, or ISI. By 2013, the terrorist organization was carrying out dozens of attacks a month in Iraq. In April 2013, Baghdadi announced the merger of his forces in Iraq and Syria and the creation of the now feared Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant, or ISIL. The end of 2013 brought the opportunity to take control of central city of Fallujah, aided by tribesmen and former Saddam Hussein loyalists. In June of 2014, ISIS overran the northern city of Mosul and then advanced southwards toward Baghdad. At the end of the month, after consolidating its hold over dozens of cities and towns, ISIS declared the creation of the Caliphate, a form of Islamic government led by a person considered a successor of Muhammad, and changed its name to Islamic State, or IS. The name IS, ISIS, and ISIL remain interchangeable, used when referring to the group. In September of 2014, the then dictator of the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center, the NCTC, Matthew Olson, said Islamic State controlled an area similar to the size of the United Kingdom, or about 210 square kilometers, which is 81,000 square miles. A year later, the U.S. Department of Defense declared that IS front lines in much of the northern and central Iraq and northern Syria had been pushed back significantly by the U.S.-led airstrikes and ground operations. The DoD estimated that IS had lost approximately 30 to 37% of what it controlled in August of 2014 and 5 to 10% in Syria. Even at that point, critics accused America of not telling the truth about their attacks on IS. Some suggested that Obama might be deliberately hindering the efforts because of his relationship with the terror organization. Accusers pointed at the fact that terrorist attacks were going unanswered in America and that groups were forming within the U.S. borders. In October of 2015, National Counterterrorism Center Director Nicholas Rasmussen told Congress that the group had attracted more than 28,000 foreign fighters. They included at least 5,000 Westerners, approximately 250 of them Americans. Terrorism was being allowed to grow and prosper in America, and the commander-in-chief was doing nothing but issuing empty statements. Was it possible that he was protecting them? In the past week, the countries of Turkey and Russia have both accused the United States, and specifically Obama, was supporting ISIS. Erdogan has said it's very clear that the U.S.-led coalition is supporting terrorist groups in Syria, Islamic State, IS, known as ISIS or ISIL, among them. They give support to terrorist groups, including Daesh, Arabic for IS. Besides from IS, he also mentioned the Kurdish People's Protection Units in northern Syria, YPG, and Democratic Union Party, PYD, as groups supported by the U.S.-led coalition. We have confirmed evidence with pictures, photos, and videos, he added. Earlier in the week, the Russian foreign minister had spoken about the recently signed National Defense Authorization Act. Obama endorsed the bill that Russia says openly stipulates the possibility of delivering more weapons to Syria. Those arms will soon find their way to the jihadist ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova said, adding that America has refused to fully cooperate in fighting terrorism. These are only a few examples of how it is believed that Obama has helped the terror group. In October of this year, America and allies prepared for a siege of Mosul, a city in Iraq that's been under ISIL control since 2014. U.S. Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter said that an additional 500 U.S. troops would be sent to strategic stronghold of Mosul to help in the fight against the terrorists. While Obama had signed off on the siege, he apparently had a more important deal in the works. Insiders report that Saudi Arabia struck a secret deal with the United States. This deal allowed Islamic State members and supporters to safely retreat from Mosul before the Iraqi city was attacked. The insider said more than 9,000 ISIS militants will be redeployed from Mosul to the eastern regions of Syria to carry out a major offensive operation, which involves capturing Deir ez-Zor and Palmyra, two Syrian cities. Other than the obvious desire to see the terrorists succeed and flourish, is there another reason that Obama allowed so many militants to escape? The insider reports that there was. Vladimir Putin has led Russia's army back to Bashar al-Assad, the current president of Syria, forces in the bloody war in Syria. This assistance resulted in giving Russia a key strategic stronghold in the Mediterranean. The insider revealed Washington must somehow counter Russia's achievements in Syria, try to diminish their importance. Apparently, Obama was willing to let 9,000 fighters walk free to accomplish this grandstanding. And of course, it's an attempt to undermine Syrian President Assad, added the source. British and U.S. forces have faced intense criticism for failing to stop Assad's bombing of civilians in the Syrian city of Aleppo. Obama has been accused of war crimes for using drones for airstrikes with frequent civilian casualties. Obama has often claimed that he inherited the mess in the Middle East. Previous presidents aside, Obama has taken his power and used it as a weapon, not against ISIS, but against the citizens of America. Terror has increased fairly steadily since Obama took office. At the very least, ISIS has taken advantage of a weak president. The worst case scenario is that America let a terrorist take our highest office and that he has spent the past 8 years quietly strengthening those who seek to destroy us. The next article I have is off of BizPac Review. It says outrageous amount Obama spent on travel considered abuse by watchdog group. What do you say? As much of America continues to wallow in either unemployment or underemployment, the Obamas jetted off for yet another luxurious vacation, this time being Obama's last trip to Hawaii as president, and the several million this trip costs is just part of the whopping $96 million Obama has spent on his lavish leisure time as president. Wow. This last opulent jaunt to Hawaii cost Americans an incredible $3.5 million or more in tax dollars. That includes airfare for the president, his family, and all their hangers-on, but also the high cost of flying Air Force One, the various other helicopters and vehicles needed to ferry the first family around the islands, as well as the communications equipment, Secret Service advance teams, medical personnel, and other amenities a president is afforded, according to a report by Washington watchdog group Judicial Watch, as reported by McCatchley. The Secret Service and the Air Force are being abused by unnecessary travel, Judicial Watch Judicial Watch Chief Tom Fitton said. Unnecessary presidential travel for fundraising and luxury vacations on the taxpayer's dime would be a good target for reform in the incoming Trump administration. According to CBS News correspondent Mark Collier, Obama has taken 28 vacations during his 8-year presidency, comprising of 217 days, a number that will grow at the end of the Obama's ongoing Hawaii trip. While Obama's days off are fewer than 490 days George W. Bush took off, most of Bush's time away from the White House were spent at his easily secured Texas ranch or his family home in Kennebunkport, Maine, and not so often jetting off to Hawaii, Germany, Spain, and all the other expensive trips Obama took. For instance, when in Hawaii, the first family often stays at a hotel that charges between $5,000 and $10,000 a night. These are the sort of costs Bush did not incur when going to his own personally owned properties. Also, during these far-flung trips Obama has taken, it isn't uncommon for the cost of just the Secret Service alone to reach upwards of $2 million a trip. And airfare and hotels have commonly been an additional $2 million or more during the Obama presidency. Using government records, Judicial Watch also calculated that the use of Air Force One cost the taxpayers $180,118 per hour to fly. He ought to have to pay every dime of that money back, or put him in debtor's prison until he does. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I have not had a vacation since 1981. And he's had 28 vacations in 8 years. I am appalled. The next article and final one in this episode is off of US. And we've got to get the hamster to cooperate here. I think he's getting tired. Get it to whip up here so that I can read it. Sanctuary mayors urge Obama to extend lawlessness past his dictatorship. Feeling that the insanity that's being exhibited in the statements of these scofflaws is being advocated by the leaders of America's largest cities, supposedly moral, financial, responsible individuals. Nothing of the sort. They're Democrats, mostly planted communists or globalists, who work for the destruction of this nation, our implosion under our own weight, and the redistribution of wealth from the rural producers to the urban parasites. It's dismaying, though not in the least surprising, that they're asking their current pretend president to, by any means possible, declare November election null and void, at least inasmuch as it applies to the enforcement of the immigration laws or the lack thereof. They seem to be unaware that Obama was never actually elected dictator, let alone dictator for life. In an open letter to the White House occupier, New York City's Communist Mayor Bill de Blasio and 30 other mayors of illegal alien sanctuary, law-breaking cities from across the nation asked Obama to dictate beyond the expiration of his term in office. An organization of urban outlaw officials calling itself Cities of Action or Cities for Action demanded an increase in sanctuary city protections for illegals. The usual corrupt Democrats joined de Blasio, including Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, and Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney. Exhibiting serious symptoms of denial, they asked Obama to grant an extension to 740,000 illegals enrolled in the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or the DACA program, an illegal circumvention of federal immigration law imposed by executive order dictate by Hussein Obama. They wrote, "We call upon your administration to accept early renewal applications for current DACA holders to extend temporary protections for them. In addition, we urge USCIS to commit to speedy processing of initial and renewal applications." They also request that another excuse for evading immigration laws, the Temporary Protected Status, or the TPS program, be expanded to include Haiti and Ecuador. They also thanked Obama for officially ending the Terrorist Tracking Program, the National Security Entry-Exit Registration System, or the NSEERS program, which he and his criminal henchman at DHS, Jihadi J. Johnson, have ignored for the last 5 years anyway. After all, just because a lot of terrorists come from a country doesn't mean a non-terrorist couldn't also be included. It also only makes sense in a perverted anti-American sort of Democrat mind not to track any of them. The Liberal agitator mayor wrote, "We also thank you for listening to concerns from local leaders, among other voices, and taking steps this week to end the failed National Security Entry-Exit Registration System, the NSEERS program." The letter continued. This special registration program was discriminatory and created great fear and turmoil within our communities, particularly among Muslim immigrants, while not providing any increase in security. A revival of the program would only serve to heighten tensions and increase the risk of bias-based crimes at a time when hate speech and hate crimes are on the rise. For these reasons, we commend your administration for this move. These corrupt anti-American subversives aren't going to know what hit them once the Trump administration takes over, but it's certain that they're not going to like it very much. Trump transition team spokesman Jason Miller told Breitbart News the national policy team and the incoming cabinet and administration members are spending a lot of time reviewing potential executive order actions, working through a 100-day plan for particular pieces of legislation that will be coming up. Odds are the terms covered in this open letter of theirs will be the least of their concerns. American citizens can certainly hope that's the case. So there is what I had for you in this episode, and I have another one for you coming up. So if you like what we're doing, give it a thumbs up, share it on your social media, subscribe if you haven't already. Click that little box there with the bell so that you get the email alerts when I put out the shows. Keeps you informed, and we'll see you in the next episode.